Sikhs from around the world by showcasing their professions, passions, and perspectives. I'm your host, Mandheer Singh, aka the Nihung. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh, Mandheer Ji.
Ravneet Kaur, welcome to the Nihung's arena.
Thank you. I've been waiting.
Yeah, you actually got my attention because you shared my podcast and I started getting followers right after you shared it. And I was like, oh, I've got to talk to her.
Usually it's girls that start getting a lot of followers when I share photos with them.
Yeah.
But yes, Mandheer Ji, I saw your podcast and I was just so impressed. As I was just telling you, the branding and the whole concept. And, you know, we've got like real Singhs sitting on the camera with totally American accent. And, you know, for my audience who is straight in Punjab, for them, it must be just like, mind blown.
Yeah, you know, maybe we can get into a little bit of that too, kind of give you my background. But before I do, just want to point out you're from Sydney, Australia, or that's where you live now.
Yes.
And you are somewhat of a Bitcoin queen. You kind of are an expert at Bitcoin and you do these YouTube videos explaining Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin in Punjabi.
That's right.
Why don't you give me a little bit of background about yourself? Like, where are you from originally? Are you born and raised in Sydney or give a little background of where you are and how you got to Bitcoin?
Sure. So, look, I was born in Chandigarh in PGI Hospital, and I'm from a very heavy military background. So dad's in our BSF, Nana is in BSF, Army, Dada is in Army. So I was brought up in India in a few different military camps. And then in 2003, when I was 11, we came to Australia. So I did my high school here. I was the black sheep of the family. I didn't go to college. I tried to do year 12 3 times. I didn't do it, but just because my heart was not in it. I was just so switched off studying at that point. I wanted to get out in the real world and just see like what's happening. It just didn't feel right to go to college, study for 4 years, not knowing what I'm going to do in the future, and have all these huge debt when I walk out looking for a job now just to pay that debt for the next few years. So it didn't resonate with me because I didn't want to go in medicine or engineering.
The typical things that Indian families do.
Yeah, I was never geared towards that. So I started doing, sales because that's a really, really easy job to get if you don't have any skill set. And
well, look, I'm in real estate, so I totally understand.
Yeah, if you have a gift of the gab. So, look, slowly towards my career, I started getting into marketing. And then towards the end, I got heavy into tech. And I was working for American companies in Australia, you know, publicly listed billion-dollar companies. And they were software companies. They were actually making the product. And being surrounded by geniuses, engineers, and innovation, it really helped me find what I wanted to do, which was within the tech sector. 2017, you may remember, we had this huge crypto hype, Bitcoin hype, when each Bitcoin was 20K USD. So I happened to get really lucky. I got into crypto just 2 months before the massive hype.
Well, when you say you got into, do you mean you got into the field or you started investing?
I invested. I bought Bitcoin. Yeah, I took the stock out from my the company that I was working with at the time, and I put that in Bitcoin. So I think I put about 10K AUD, which may be about 7K USD, something like that, because I just wanted to dabble. Within 2 months, that was 50K AUD. Wow. So about, I think 42K USD, something like that. Yeah. I was blown away. I had never seen such increase in such short amount of time. So it definitely got my attention.
Right.
So then I started to learn. So I quit my job because I could tell this was the future. I did a little bit of research and what I really liked about Bitcoin is that apart from being a digital currency where anyone in the world can participate, it's real equality. And
this is actually a really interesting concept about equality, because I'm assuming you're going to kind of get into a little bit of blockchain, but the equality thing is huge. Explain why, though, because I don't think people understand how regular money works. Then there's no way to contrast. If you don't understand how regular money works, then the equality side of Bitcoin may not make sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, what equality is about Bitcoin is traditionally, any new opportunities that come out, for example, when internet came out, or any new type of financial investments, if we just look at it from a financial investment perspective, these opportunities have been reserved in the past for the top 1% or the elite circles, or if you speak in English, or if you're in tech or already a banker or in that industry. So these opportunities, by the time they reach, for example, Punjabis or anyone who doesn't speak in English and they don't live in these Western countries, it's already too late. It's already too expensive. It's already peaked. The hype's already gone up. So it's already reached potentially at that time a maximum price.
Right. So the opportunity there is less now because people have already taken advantage of all the opportunity there is. And now there's literally crumbs left.
Absolutely. And expensive crumbs as well.
Yeah. Okay.
With, not as high of a spike in terms of growth, more like long-term gradual growth.
I see.
And we haven't actually globally seen the crypto boom yet. It hasn't happened. Bitcoin was created in 2009 in the end, towards the end of the financial crisis that happened in the States. And it was as a result because people lost trust from banks, from governments. Overnight, people lost money that was just sitting in their banks. And it's like, okay, if we can't trust our institutions, who can we trust?
Yeah.
We need to take the control back in our hands. So that's how Bitcoin was created. Now, what I personally love about Bitcoin is its truly decentralized nature.
All right.
No one knows who the creator of Bitcoin is. I don't know if you've come across that.
Yeah, no, I know. It's all a mystery. There's suspicions, but it's a mystery.
Yeah, but no one's cracked it. It could be a government. It could be a group of people. It could be cypherpunks. It could be anyone. And, if we go back to our guru's teachings in Sikhism, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, he had already implemented the notion of decentralizing power by having Panch Pyare.
That's very interesting, yeah.
And then if we go down to 80s and we look at the demand for, sovereign Sikh state, and we look at Sant Bhindranwale Ji, again, part of Anandpur resolution was to decentralize power to safeguard minority rights and bully and everything, So decentralization to me has always been the key to, equality and gaining back your rights, your birthright that, that we're born with, which is our right, our freedom, whatever it may be. So where does power come from in the world? It's whoever's holding money. Money is power. So if that power is decentralized and the governments don't have the ability to shut Bitcoin down, for them to they can ban it, but to execute that ban, they would have to monitor every single computer in the country. The cost of that is phenomenal. So
so part of what you're saying, though, with the decentralization is with Bitcoin, you have thousands or millions, even computers that hold registers of records of who owns what Bitcoin and what its value is and how it gets traded. And those computers all synchronize between each other using encrypted keys to make sure that it is a actual true record that's being recorded, and it's happening millions of times. So even if somebody tried to cheat it somehow on one computer, there's a million computers out there that have the correct information and won't allow that change without the proper key.
Yeah, well, for them to change, for them to tamper with any transactions, they would need to break the code. They would need to go into what we call smart contract where the rules are already pre-coded and that's locked. So you can't actually go in and manipulate Bitcoin's system or tamper with it. And because it's public ledger, it's public data, it's not hidden. Anyone can see it. Anyone can see the transactions and they can see how much amount is transferred and from what wallet address to what wallet address.
Right. Okay.
So, there's transparency, decentralization. And the best part is that anyone with a smartphone can create a wallet and buy Bitcoin or transfer Bitcoin to each other. So initially what we're going to see now in the next few years is the unbanked being banked, in third world countries.
What do you mean by that?
So let's take India, for example. When the demonetization happened, I think 2 years ago now, 3 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I was there at the time and I saw how chaotic the whole management of it was. I mean, okay, so let's not get into that.
But, that's a whole nother mess.
That's a whole another mess that we can talk about. We need a whole new session on podcast for that. So when that happened, what was required from the citizens was you go to the bank and you get your notes exchanged. And to get that, you need to have your Aadhaar card, which is a new type of, in a very recent few years, identity card. And you go and get your money exchanged.
That was a government-issued identity card, correct?
That's right. That's right. Now, you can imagine how many people in the Pind, in the Gao,
right. A lot of people
don't have identity Aadhaar card. They don't have bank accounts. You've got women that have been saving money under their pillow for years from their abusive husbands. So the husband doesn't take the money and go gamble it away. Or she's saving it for her daughter's marriage, whatever it may be. That's become obsolete overnight. And she has no ID or nothing to prove the fact that she is who she is. She doesn't have a bank account. A lot of people don't have bank accounts. So that money has lost value overnight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we saw similar use cases like that. Like, you've got migrants. From Bangladesh, you get so many migrants, right? And Nepal, they don't have bank accounts. They're saving up. They've come to India just to earn money so they can send it back home, or after 2-3 years, they return with that money. That money's become obsolete. So really, it was, it was just such a example of such a mess of a traditional style banking and an example of what happens when you've got governments controlling money as opposed to a computer, a system where the fair rules are coded in and you can truly trust the system.
Right. Interesting. So once you have a Bitcoin, or maybe how do you get a Bitcoin? And then once you have it, what are you doing with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a question I get asked quite a lot by my community. That's, by the way, growing every day. And I'm just still, Maharaj, thank you for the interest, the love. By the
way, make sure you send me all your links and everything. I'll make sure I put them in the description of this video.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the first time in this lifetime, the first time I'm connecting with Punjab. And to me, it's just amazing, So how do you get a Bitcoin? There's two different ways. Either if you don't have a Bitcoin, you want to acquire Bitcoin from scratch, you can either buy Bitcoin, and that would be via your what we call fiat currency, so your local currency. You can sign up to a local exchange. You can sign up to a P2P exchange, which means that instead of buying from a centralized exchange, you're buying from another person from another person on a decentralized exchange.
These exchanges and the P2P, they're kind of brokering the purchase. Is that what they're doing?
Yes.
They collect a fee for doing that?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. P2P is more like escrow service. It's more decentralized, so they'll hold it escrow, but they won't actually hold. It's not centralized. They're not holding the Bitcoin and selling it to you. You're not buying it from the exchange. You're buying it from someone else.
I see.
So that's one way. Or the second way to acquire Bitcoin is if someone sends you Bitcoin. Now, as an example, what I'm doing right now in Punjab, I've started a YouTube channel, and my goal here is to bridge the gap. I feel this is the first message I had put out when I launched my channel, is that language should not be a barrier for any community, and it's progress. And if we date back to 1800s, Sikh Empire, we were one of the most powerful, in a very short amount of time, one of the most powerful empires in the world. We had French generals leaving their armies and coming and fighting for Maharaja Ranjit Singh.
Yeah.
Our women were the most intelligent and literate and highly educated women. So it's phenomenal, like, from what we were. It's like we have the potential to not only get back there, but even go higher.
Sure.
Because we've had the taste of it. So as the world now, where the world is going,
right.
I feel that we're headed towards a financial crash globally with COVID. Economies are not working, money's not being generated. And who's really suffering? I mean, at least we sitting in Western countries have some aid from the government, but if you think about in India, like how many people are dying daily, it's just a mess. So we're headed towards a financial crash, which then leads to a financial reset. And being in the industry in crypto for 3 years now, and being in those circles, there's a lot of talks now, and we're already starting to see in the news as well. A lot of countries in the new year will start to bring cryptocurrencies and regulating them.
Interesting. Okay.
Because there's a fear as well now of touching money, which is the number one way to
spread any kind of disease, anything.
Yeah, and we've just gone through the biggest shock of our lives with COVID. So we're going to see a proper boom, not starting from next year, a huge boom starting from next year that will then continue on as more and more countries come in and adopt cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So my goal here is to bridge the gap for Punjabis, and I could have done it in English because everyone in India wants to speak in English. That's the cool thing. And even now, there's so many YouTubers there that are trying to educate people on crypto, but it's more everyone speaks in English. So what happens to the people, truly the people that Bitcoin can help? Bitcoin can help people like you and me make a lot of money. But for people from low socioeconomic backgrounds, that's the key to their freedom.
Right.
So
Interesting.
So in my mind, I'm like, Amritsar is what I want to target. I want to be speaking in Punjabi and, explaining to them. I want to target Bathinda. I want to target Patiala, Ludhiana. I don't want to target Chandigarh and Mohali. I mean, of course, I'm going to target the whole of Punjab. But my goal is like, how do I get into the pins?
Yeah. How do you get it to where it'll affect the people the most? But there's another problem. I don't understand. Like, how do you have a Bitcoin, or how do you use a Bitcoin if you don't have a computer or if you don't have a phone? But I guess almost everybody's got a phone now.
You would need a phone. You would, and like, even if, let's say, you don't have a phone, somehow you had a phone and now you don't for some reason. But the thing is, you can also store your Bitcoin in hard wallet, which is a hardware wallet. It looks like a USB. Oh, and that's if you're truly, so there's different types of wallets. And that's if you truly want to take responsibility, and, you don't want to share that responsibility with the exchange that you're holding your money in or some app, because it could get hacked. So,
but the problem with a hard wallet then is that it could get lost.
Or you can get attacked in India and someone can physically take it off you.
Right. Okay, I understand. I get it.
That's why you wouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
You wouldn't go and flex it like you flex your new cars and bikes. And
here's my Amex Platinum card.
Literally, you think like that. But what can you do with Bitcoin? Look, after 2017 boom, it created, there was already a market for Bitcoin. There was already a community and ecosystem, but that just took it to a whole new level because Bitcoin was finally not mainstream adopted, but it reached mainstream media and people knew about it. That's how I found out about it. So there is thousands of businesses and services and online stores and even physical stores that accept Bitcoin as payment. So you can use Bitcoin to make payments. Now in Bitcoin industry, we've got all sorts of service providers, right? We've got marketers who are just working with crypto projects. We've got ICOs, we've got advisors, consultants, whoever. And it's very normal to pay them in Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin.
Okay.
So we use it as currency. However, now we went through a crash, especially 2019. Bitcoin's price had not only dropped, it remained around 10K. Okay. So people stopped obviously using Bitcoin as a currency to spend right now. And really, this is what the trend has been, is to accumulate Bitcoin as much as you can right now. No one wants to, because it's scarce. It's limited. Unlike your normal fiat currency, which is unlimited and government can print as many notes as they want. This is like internet gold.
Right, so because Bitcoin has to be mined, what they call mining.
That's right.
Correct? So there's only a limited number of Bitcoins that get created.
That's right.
And it's not easy to mine, even though it is computers just running. They're doing some kind of equations, problem solving or whatever. Right. They generate these Bitcoins after solving these problems. But it takes a lot of CPU power and memory. And then these Bitcoin mines, someone could have a whole room just full of all these servers that are running, generating this Bitcoin. But even still, you're talking about a limited number, and that determines its value because of its scarcity.
Exactly. And when it comes to Bitcoin, you're right, Mandheerji. When it comes to Bitcoin mining, it's become extremely hard because it's extremely competitive now. What's happened in 2011, you could have one computer and so you're solving all these equations. You're giving up your computer storage, your computer power, and your electricity. And in return, you're being rewarded with Bitcoin, but you have to catch it. So it doesn't mean every time you solve an equation, you get Bitcoin. You have to catch it. So it's very random. Now, what's happened ever since? China has set up Bitcoin mining farms. I'm talking farms with thousands and thousands, hundreds and thousands of dedicated computers just for Bitcoin mining.
Oh, really?
Second top country is Russia, and third top country is Malaysia. How are you going to compete with that when you've got one computer? Because that's a question I get asked a lot, like in Punjab, because our people are so savvy. They're so entrepreneurial. Yeah. They just need the opportunity. And so, they're asking me, how do you do Bitcoin mining? Like, can we set it up? I've got 2-3 computers, we can get more. And I'm like, yeah, but we have, if you set up a farm, it's worth it. Because then you can hedge it. Then you're not just mining Bitcoin, you can mine other currencies too.
I see.
But if you only have one computer, it's going to cost you a lot. And when are you going to even make that money back? It's totally random. It's a chance.
Right. So it may not be worth it to try to start up getting into mining Bitcoin. It's better off to just earn it other ways, trade for it or provide services and get paid that way or as a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're talking about 10,000. What is the value of one Bitcoin?
10,000, just over 10,000 USD right now. Yeah, it keeps fluctuating from 10,200 to 10,700.
So what if you did some kind of service that's worth 2,000? Are you getting partial Bitcoin?
That's a great point. Yes, you're getting Satoshis. So we've got cents for dollars. You've got Satoshis for Bitcoin. So it's very easy to calculate. You would just go on Google and type in USD to BTC, and Google will bring up a calculator right then and there. And you just type in 2,000 USD, and it will bring up something like 0.13 BTC.
Right, I see.
Something like that. I mean, that's just a random number, but
yeah. They give you, it is a fraction. I see. Okay, so you had this idea that you want to bring this to the pin. Do you want to bring it to Punjabi people that are don't have the same resources and success as others, and it gives them a chance to kind of be on an equal playing field with this kind of currency and investment?
And there's so much money in Punjab. We're 2% of the population and we're one of the most affluent. The problem is we're spending that money to pay for IELTS exams and to pay to agents so we can get the hell out of Punjab. And to an extent, I don't blame that. I don't blame Punjabis leaving Punjab. Like, it's easy for me to sit in Australia and say, oh, look at everyone wanting to leave Punjab when my family did the same.
Right, right.
And the current, political state there's not job opportunities. There's there's a systematic attack. So how, either you fight the system, or, you flee, and you can't blame people for wanting to survive.
Yeah. No, but I like the idea, the way you presented it earlier too, tying it back to the gurus. When you think about Gurbani, what the gurus did, the information they gave us, right? This is information that wasn't readily available to the masses. If you weren't the right caste, you couldn't hear some of these things. If you were not the right religion, like Islam, and Aurangzeb has rules about who can study, who can do rag kirtan or music and rags, and the guru is saying, no, everybody can do it. Anybody can learn it. You want to know about creation and the creator? I'm giving it to everybody. Here it is. This is your nickname. This is your granth. This is your guru. And that really what the guru was doing was decentralizing information, making it available to everybody. And even the structure of the cities the guru created, Anandpur Sahib and everything, Guru Gobind Singh's Darbar, he was calling in the most intellectual people of the time, experts in agriculture and engineering and architecture and music and art and all these things, calling them in and having them teach and write and explain the most intricate details of all kinds of different information. And when you think about it that way, it makes sense that currency, which is very nationalized everywhere you go, right? It always has pictures of the people they worship. It always has certain sayings, and it tries to bind people to a certain boundary to say, hey, you belong to this nation and this is our currency. Decentralizing that currency is making it accessible to everybody and makes everybody feel like they're part of something. So when I'm thinking about it in that sense, it sounds completely in line with the way the gurus would think about how we transact with each other, it's a transparent ledger. Everybody knows who gave money to what. But I do have a question about that. I know I kind of just took a tangent there. I hear a lot of people say that cryptocurrency in general can be used by drug dealers and arms dealers and people who commit crimes. I don't really understand, how do they get away with that if there's these kinds of registers, and what is the benefit of them to operate this way versus using the old money? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I was just thinking about that while you was saying, and then you said it, and I was like, great. Look, first of all, crypto, especially in India, has Bitcoin has a really negative. It has a stigma to it that it's dark money. It's used by it's dark consciousness behind this money. It's used for trafficking on Silk Road, on the dark web, all the crimes, horrible crimes you can imagine. Bitcoin is used as a currency. But if you put that into perspective, our normal fiat currency is used 10 times more on daily basis,
right,
for scams by the institutions.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is, it's just one of the many methods. If we didn't have Bitcoin, the crime is not going to stop. They will still use other methods. The thing with Bitcoin is that it is anonymous transactions. Money is not going from your bank account when you're transferring. Because right now, if you're to transfer money, it has to go through your bank account, or it has to be cash. So to be able to transfer money digitally and it be anonymous. Now, when I say anonymous, governments have figured out ways to still trace who is, moving what money in Bitcoin. So they can track it if they want. They don't. They only do it when it's a national security threat.
I see.
They don't to do every drug dealer, it's the amount of resources they would need for these, in their eyes, petty crimes. I mean, a crime is a crime, no matter how big or small. But I personally also feel that governments don't really have the best intention to get rid of all the crime and just make it nirvana and make it a heaven on the planet and compassionate kingdom. It's not what is the priority.
Yeah, so they need enough crime to keep them in power.
Yes, exactly. And I mean,
Right.
in the end of the day, like, these mafias and stuff, like, I don't want to go too deep into it, but drugs are managed by the government.
Sure,
They're
sure.
regular, so it's a market for them. And look, when Bitcoin started, it got hijacked. So this is going in a little bit more spiritual notion, but the Bitcoin was created by the light for purposes of decentralization, for the purpose of equality, and it doesn't have the reason why we don't know the founder is to keep it truly decentralized. Otherwise, people will start praying to that person as a god. Oh,
Sure.
that person
Okay.
is so good. Or, like as humans, you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
how
we
we
do that. Right.
keep it decentralized. This is why there's no founder. So what happened is, obviously such a new concept didn't get adoption straight away. It got in the hands of the dark straight away. And it started being used for dark purposes.
Because they saw the
Silk
value. They saw the value faster than most of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you look at Silk Road, if you've heard about
Yeah.
Silk Road,
Yeah. Yeah. You're
the
talking
Silk
about.
Road was created for purposes of being a true free market, where nothing is regulated, where we can, in a normal world before Dunyavi laws came into practice, we're able to sell and buy anything, no matter how good or bad. And you have this privacy of your transactions, which you don't right now with your banks. They know exactly what you're buying and selling. There's no privacy in what you're buying and selling. So to create a true free market with true free speech, Silk Road was created.
Hmm.
Now that got quickly hijacked because it was like a marketplace. And
Yeah.
for the criminals, it was before it could reach the masses, it reached the criminals. For
Yeah.
them, it was great because now they have a marketplace they can use to sell whatever they want. And Silk Road founder was, jailed for that. I'm not sure if he's still in jail. I think he is. And ever since then, Bitcoin specifically, has had that stigma that it's dark money, but it's not. And in fact, the more it reaches mainstream, the more,
Yeah.
we're able to take that darkness away.
So, do you have any success stories from Punjab of people that have seen your videos or have been able to implement starting to invest in Bitcoin or anything like that?
Yeah, look, it's still very new because what happens is we're talking about money, a whole
Yeah.
new concept, and you've got a girl sitting in front of you talking about
Right.
something that is, I get comments a lot of the times like, "Eh, kudi pakka scam ਵੇਚ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ scam ਵੇਚਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ,"
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
comparing me to Priyanka Chopra selling some pyramid scheme or
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but the thing is, because this is the power of truth. I'm not making money from this. I'm just, because I'm wanting to truly help, and I'm in my inbox all day. I've got messages and I'm responding to people, talking one-on-one. So people are starting to see that. And now that we're doing live events, I've got other Singhs now, as Prabjeet Singh as well. I've got other
Yeah.
Singhs now on my platform who are also wanting to do the seva. So now people are starting to see, like, this is real. Like, their NRIs are really wanting to help us,
Right.
because in
Right.
Punjab they don't have that. There's a stigma with NRIs. Oh, baar beh ke any comfortable life. They're living such
Sure.
comfortable life, and they're instigating, ideas and stuff here, and we have to pugto.
Right.
So the
Right.
thing is, so
Because
I'm trying to change
it's a
that.
very difficult thing because on one hand we can see that um, they need the help. We can see where, because we can contrast, right, what we have, what they have, and even it's difficult because even the things that we get educated on, sometimes it's difficult to translate that in a way that's easy to understand for
Yeah.
someone who hasn't even seen how it can be. So I can see that you'd had a difficult. That's why I was curious. Like, did you have any success stories yet? But it sounds like you've made connections. You're making connections with
But
people.
there are a few success stories. I mean, in terms of buying crypto, the thing is, the market, since I've started talking, and really since I've been talking about crypto, I get messages every day. And predominantly, I was thinking I was going to get messages from Singhs in Punjab. I'm getting messages from Singhs in Canada, in States, that are like students
Yeah.
that still need information in Punjabi.
Right.
So they're reaching out to me. I've got women reaching out to me, and I'm just blown away. Like I've got Bibia going because they're seeing the women talk.
Yeah.
So I'm creating a market there for women.
No, I
But
think you even mentioned a little bit earlier about like in Punjab, a woman who may be victim of domestic abuse, or maybe has been feeling trapped all her life that she hasn't been able to go get the life she wants. Having another woman who seems empowered and who seems to know what she's talking about can be a sign of hope. And all of a sudden you can build that trust and that rapport so that person can maybe get out of their difficult situation. They could see this as a way out. So I can see there's a tremendous scope here of people that this can help. It's just, it is so new. It is so, it has that, like you said, it has a certain stigma to it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think the more people learn about it, the better it's going to be. And the fact that you do it in Punjabi shows that there's an audience that they don't know what they don't know yet.
exactly.
And you're bringing them this stuff to open their eyes to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, 95% of the responses I get, people are just blown away. They're like, who does that? Like, who's help? Like, what, you're helping us. This is amazing. Thank you so much for the savor. And what I've started doing now, the best way to get someone into crypto is to send them crypto, to send them Bitcoin. And so what I do every now and then is I'm like, all right, helping people set up. I've started a group now, a Facebook group that's attached to my fan page to keep the conversations going every day. And I'll add you to it in the end as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
send me some Bitcoin.
See, when I'm sending 1,000 rupees, that's $20.
Hey,
actually, no, I can send you $20 too. Of course. So, I'll say that, look, I'll list out the steps in Punjabi. I'll say, go to this website. It's an Indian exchange. Download their wallet and go to your, this page, and then you will see your wallet address. Send that to me. Yeah. So I'll have people then commenting with their wallet addresses, and I'll be like, you get 1,000 rupees, you get 1,000 rupees, everyone gets one. So I'll just give out 1,000 rupees, and now they're in crypto.
Yeah,
now they have
that's
Bitcoin.
Awesome.
Now they're watching it every day. And now they're like, okay, madam, and I'm like, just connect your bank account, and they're there. But I have to tell you, in crypto, we have a concept of airdrops, because crypto is all about community. And what airdrop is that every time a new cryptocurrency is launched, usually in the beginning, before it's even launched, to create hype, what the founders or the team does, they give away free tokens, free coins. And to, so that way you've got like people taking that, and now they're paying attention because they've got a wallet with your company's shares, coins in it. So now they're paying attention. And it doesn't cost the company anything because they're just giving away coins. They've got like a 1 billion max, so it's like a little drop in the ocean for them. So usually they do it before the project is launched, and usually the coins have no value, right? So what happened recently is there is a new decentralized exchange called Uniswap. And it's making waves, like it's peer-to-peer, and all the new coins that are coming, they usually hit P2P decentralization exchanges first, because they don't have to get listed. You're buying from either straight from the company or someone else, as opposed to an exchange. So it's taken off really, really well. Now, what Uniswap did out of the blue, they said anyone, and this was only done 2 weeks ago, anyone who has had their account with us for before 1st September, you're allocated to 400 unique coins. At the time, each coin is $3.50, which later went on to $8 because then people actually started buying more and more coins. So they launched the product first, created a community, and then they launched the coins. So at that point, I only had 1 or 2 people in India that I had set up on Uniswap. My video editor, because I'd speak to him on a daily basis, and one other guy. And I see this and I'm like, I call him straight away because I don't know how long this offer is available for. I claimed mine. I've got 2,000 USD now in my wallet out of nowhere. Money that I didn't, it's free money.
Yeah.
I tell him to claim it. In his bank account, in his wallet, he's got 1 lakh now.
Oh, wow.
1 lakh for someone is 3 months' salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in
very
COVID
significant
times right now, people are barely making any. And now that's gone to 2 lakhs. And it nearly had touched 3 lakhs. So for him, free money, he was blown away.
So wait, real quick, let me just ask you something though, because this is not like a stock, right? It's not like if it loses value, you might lose money out of your pocket. It's unless you had paid at the higher price. If someone gave you a Bitcoin and it loses value, you're just back to nothing. You don't owe money.
Unless you spent your money to buy it.
Unless you spent your money to buy it. But if you've been given like these 400 coins that were given, if they lost their value now, it's no loss to you. Yeah.
No, but he's also able to cash that straight away.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's able to cash that straight away. He's able to then convert those coins he's received into Ethereum, and then convert Ethereum into Bitcoin, and then send Bitcoin to his other wallet that's connected to his bank account. So there's conversion.
Couple steps. Yeah.
And he's got 2 lakhs in his bank account.
Wow, that's incredible.
But what I said to him is, don't cash it out. Use that now to put into other coins and start trading. You've got, like Maharaj has given you.
Yeah. Don't spend it. Yeah.
Like, because when you have money, it just, it just goes away. It just slides away.
Oh, of course.
But you've brought something really interesting. And one thing I want to say is, and it's like there was a recent article on it as well, Bitcoin has more chances of reaching 100K USD per Bitcoin than Bitcoin ever going to $0.
I see. Right.
Because initially the amount of, you have what's called these anonymous whales. Whale is someone who's an investor who's put like millions and millions of dollars. It's a proper whale. And we've got whales and we have Bitcoin supporters that are like truly interested in the liberty and freedom of people. They have put so much money to create a support level of Bitcoin. And then it'll
never zero out. It'll never go to zero because they're supporting it.
And the amount of Bitcoins that have been lost as well, that can never be recovered. That money, is never going to be cashed out. So you've got this base support that's there. It's never going to drop below that. So that's why it can never go to $0. Wow.
It's pretty incredible. Now, I've seen on your Facebook, you seem to travel a lot, or you used to travel a lot all around the world. I don't know if that was while you were still doing Bitcoin or if that was before Bitcoin, but
it was by Bitcoin.
Okay. Okay. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because you got to see a lot of the world. You saw people all over, but somehow you were still inspired to go back and work in Punjab. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. When I quit my job because I made, a bit of money to allow me to now do something with my life.
And right now you're what, 28, 29 years old, something
28,
like 28 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're fairly young doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, but in contrast, because I didn't go to college, I feel like I've been working full-time since I've been 19.
Yeah.
So I've been in the workforce, since a young age. So it's nearly 10 years now. So when I got this money, I was like, okay, I can do something now. And I was so done by 9 to 5 by that time. It was like literally sucking the soul out of it. I was looking at work as an incubus, sucking the soul out of it.
I think we all do. I think we all think of 9 to 5 jobs like that.
But it's not normal. And that's a whole different topic, but it's not normal. It's systematic oppression. 9 to 5.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah.
So anyway, and 4 weeks holidays a year, and it's meant to, I want to do 4 weeks work a year. No, not that less. But so look, I made all this money and I'm like, okay, I want to now learn about crypto because I was just energetically really pulled towards this new industry. Being in Australia was not enough to learn about it because Australia was so far and we're so cut off from the world. And to go on the internet and learn about crypto, it's just like you can read it, but the definitions don't make any sense. because it's so new.
Right.
You need to like be talking to people in a daily discussion. And where do I find those people? Yeah, there were people in Sydney, but I just, so I saw on my Facebook out of the blue, a few weeks later, this ad comes up in Singapore. There is a blockchain event happening. And I'm like, okay, I need to go. In Singapore. Singapore is not that far. So booked my flight, went to Singapore, attended this event, and whoa, I was just like, okay, I'm so glad I came, because whatever I thought about Bitcoin, whatever my limited knowledge was, it's not that at all.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so much more than that. I'm looking, I wasn't even thinking about like blockchain that much at the time. I was just thinking about Bitcoin currency.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to startups. Say it was like a trade show. You had all these startups with their stall, and they're looking for investment and what they're
like a big convention.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got like a panel with speakers and multiple workshops. So, I'm speaking to all of them and I'm just blown away. Websites, decentralized. Social media, decentralized. Supply chain, decentralized. And I'm just like, instead of on the internet learning about these like different use cases, I'm talking to people who are pitching me what their product is. They thought I was an investor. I wasn't at the time. Now I am. Yeah. So, it was just fascinating. So I'm like, okay, I need to attend more events. And at the time, crypto community was quite small. So no matter what country you go to, it's the same crowd that kind of moves. You've got the same crowd globally moving.
The same people are moving through these things, right?
Yeah, they're called crypto nomads. So they're traveling all the time and, sponsored by Bitcoin. So I started traveling. It just felt right that I need to go wherever the crypto crowd is going and just go with the crowd. So then South Korea, I went there 3 times. Like every month I was going back in 2018. Singapore, Hong Kong, San Fran, and traveling to all the Philippines. Sorry. And then traveling to all these different countries, Korea. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They're really, really like smart and they're embracing blockchain. I'm blown away. I'm like, hail to South Koreans. Hail, dictatorship works. Yes. No, that's terrible.
No. It's not even that. You're right though. South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, these countries are pushing technology in every facet of their life, right? Their medical technology is surpassing everybody else in the world. They're embracing cryptocurrencies ahead of everybody else. Part of it is these are small, smart countries, so it's easy for them to kind of maneuver these things on a large scale because of their size. But these are absolutely the cutting edge countries when it comes to technology.
But what inspired me about South Korea is that less than 1% of people speak in English, and they're leading in technology. All their content is in Korean.
It's all Korean.
Wow. They're not relying on English language.
Yeah.
And relying on innovations to take place and then teaching. They're creating their own hubs. You walk down the street in Seoul, every second building, new blockchain center opening, coming soon. So maybe the government's also incentivizing in these countries, but it's really the people that are taking ownership and just like, let's just do it as a community. Let's just get it done. So I was blown away by that concept. For me, traditionally, it was like, okay, Silicon Valley, English speaking, success.
Right. Kind of stereotype, of how it should be.
That just, blew me away. And I mean, still in like Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, they still speak English. Their content is not in there. But Korea and Japan, the most advanced, crypto markets, creating content in their own language. Their people are not having to, and it's so hard for Western countries to like Western startups. They're trying to, and there's so much money in these markets. Investors are loaded. So they're trying to, massage the investors. Like, how can we, they're like,
they want to crack in, but they're doing everything in Korean. They're not. Yeah.
And so it's like it's
kind of protecting their own market. It's protecting their own market this way.
Yeah. And like, especially when I'm in South Korea, I see like, these investors and they're surrounded by all these like startup founders, these like, Caucasian males, like anyone you can imagine. Traditionally, the roles are the other way around, and they're like trying to get time with these Korean investors. They're trying to and so it reminded me of Sikh Empire and like how everyone from around the world was coming to our empire.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how is that not possible? It just needs one person to go ahead and create the platform. Other people will join. And that's what happened. I've got like, every few days I've got like a Singh from States or someone, we love what you're doing. How can I help?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So it's just like one person needs to create a platform and people will come in. So look, I traveled a lot and it was important for me to travel because this information is still limited and it's very in person. It's very like in the crypto community.
Yeah.
And events help with networking and meeting powerful people in the industry. So then I came back to Australia around end of 2018. I started running my own community, Oz Loves Crypto, and I was hosting events where crypto startups from all around the world were coming to Australia to meet the Australian community and the investors. But that died out very quickly because that was the end of the boom, and the crypto was crashing at that time.
That's when crypto was crashing. Yeah. Okay.
No one wanted to spend money.
Bitcoin went from like what, 30,000 to 10,000? Something like that?
It went from 3,900 USD to 20,000 USD, and then it dropped back to 8,000.
I see.
You had people that bought Bitcoin when it was 18K.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And they're still waiting, you know?
But it will. Eventually it will.
Oh, next year.
Yeah.
Which is why I've like, okay, now I'm full-time doing Seva of this. Because next year, we're going to see mid-year, we're going to see the biggest boom we've ever seen.
Okay.
Because it's all a ripple effect. It takes like one news to come out, positive news. It takes then few weeks, few months, like you'll see a spike straight away. But then for the correction to happen, spike is the hype. But when it drops back, it usually won't drop back to where it started from. It'll be higher than that. And that's market correcting itself. You've got a whole new support level now, But also with crypto, majority of the investors are unqualified. They've not bought Bitcoin before, so they don't understand how investor psychology works. So they put in 1,000 rupees, for example, or $1,000. The market shifts a little bit. It goes down. They get $800. It becomes
they freak out.
Panic.
They cash it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a ripple effect. And because majority of the investors that are new, they don't know investor psychology, they panic. The whole market panics. So that's how it works when they hype. It's a panic buy. Quickly, let's buy before. And then panic sell works the same way. So people lose a lot of money that way.
Yeah, I've been doing real estate since 2003. Okay, I used to be IT. I used to work in IT, a software engineer, and then got into real estate. But I worked a lot with the banks and the foreclosures all before the 2008 crash, and then. I saw everything happening. And then from 2008 to 2012, everything was pretty bad. And I remember I was talking to an Indian lady who used to work at the bank. She used to talk to me a lot because she would see me and she would get happy, whatever. So I would chat with her a little bit. And one day she tells me, she goes, yeah, we're thinking of selling our house. This is in the middle of the crisis. And I was like, oh, really? Well, how come? And she goes, well, we've lost so much money. I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, we bought the house for $300,000. And now it's only worth 200 and we don't want to lose any more money. I was like, you're not going to lose the money until you sell it.
Exactly.
If you just stick with it, we're in the middle of a crisis. It'll all come out on the other side. We'll be fine long-term. So if you can afford your house, do not sell it. Why would you want? And she was nervous. She was like, well, we don't know how low it's going to go. And I was like, it doesn't matter. Do not lose your house. Hold on to your house. But it was hard for people to understand. They all had that mentality of, oh, if I'm losing all this value in my house, I might as well just walk away, or I might as well just sell it now and take my losses now. It's like, no, that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do. Sit tight.
100%. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that Babji speaks about really well. That's where like lack of education is. Like if you don't know how the economies work, if you don't know historically, what are the scarce assets that have performed, and what are some of the scarce assets that will always continue to perform regardless of losing value up and down, like of your portfolio in the short term. That knowledge really helps. And that's where he does a really, really good job. He talks about like how when the Vikings, I think, invaded France or something like that, 1,000 years ago, and they bought all these, like, they have all these houses, and 1,000 years down the track, that's legacy now. Those families still own those massive acreages of houses, and now they're worth millions and millions of dollars.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta get Prabhjit on. He said he would come on, so I gotta make sure I get him on.
He only does podcasts in Punjabi now.
Only Punjabi.
Oh no, he's loving it. He's so smart, but he's initially, when we did our first podcast, everyone was like really nervous because they hadn't spoken about these complex concepts in Punjabi before.
Right.
And I had a bit of a head start because I had already been doing pre-recorded videos, and I mean, it was a learning curve for me as well. But doing pre-recorded versus speaking live is very different.
Yeah.
And everyone was so nervous, you know. And then once we did it, and the event was over, we were all like, oh my God, like it was just so exciting. It was creating history.
Yeah.
I want to create new role models.
That's the one you just did like a few weeks ago, like 3-4 weeks ago. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've done 3 so far.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. I actually watched a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And that was when I realized that you and Prabhjit were connected, because I was friends with you on Facebook separate. And Prabhjit is here locally for me. I know his dad really well. His dad is on the security team at the Gurdwara with me. So, so when I saw it, I was like, hey, that's Prabhjit from here. And then I saw you and I was like, oh, wow, they're talking about this. So I listened for a little while. It was very good. And that's what kind of opened my eyes to it. I thought, there's something more to this. And I never had put it into the context of that sovereignty, the independence, the thinking about it as decentralized in the same way that we think about information and things like that, Sikhi-wise. And
and no one can take your money away from you.
Yeah, that's really, really important. That falls in line with a lot of our philosophies. But, that also made me wonder too, about your background a little bit. Like, I know that you are very much into like Sikh history, and I see you write very supportive of a lot of Sikh causes and things like that. What is your story Sikhi-wise? Have you always been in a Sikh family doing, and involved in Sikhi things, or is that something you grew into later? If I were to guess, it seemed like you, around the time you got into Bitcoin, seems like you got maybe more into Sikhi than something, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, it was hukum. And when the hukum came, everything just like the universe is like, all right, stop being a white girl now. Become who you are, step into your true self, and it's still work in progress.
We all are, right? We all are.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in a fairly moderate, modern Sikh family. Every now and then my parents would go through phases of doing, okay, we're going to do Path. We're going to do it every day. And then for months, years, it wouldn't be touched. But very fairly so my parents are heavily, I'm going to be very careful with my words, Indian programmed. Okay. I mean, but it's not their fault. It's that generation. It's
their culture, right? They're living their culture.
Yeah, but that generation was hit the most in India. If you're not in Punjab, especially if you're in the military family, that generation was hit and heavily programmed the most. So, very national, very Jai Hind, the whole charade.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to cut it out. It's fine. It's fine. So
I hope they didn't vote for Modi though. Did they?
Sorry?
I hope they didn't vote for Modi though.
Well, they didn't vote because they can't vote.
Okay.
They were citizens here, but if
you're citizens in Australia
now. Yeah. No, but if they had a choice, they would.
Okay.
Which is another whole,
that's a whole other thing.
It's fine. So my brother went through the Jagrata first. He 2017, starting from 2016, but 2017, I had moved back to my parents' house because I was living 5 years in the city. So working was easy for me. And like I said, I was like a Gora, like white kid, separate from parents, living my own life, partying, drinking. Like there was no kijav towards Sikhi. When I was 15, I used to play gatka, and I really enjoyed that in the Gurdwara, and I was good at it. I was really good at it.
Yeah.
But it was I just felt pressured. Like, okay, if I'm playing gatka, now I can't cut my hair. And it was kind of like, because everyone else is kids as well, right? We're all kids and it's always work in progress. So they're looking at me like, you're playing gatka, now you need to stop cutting your hair. Now you need to do these things. So I pulled myself away from it. And then when I pulled myself away from my home and I moved out, it was completely detached. And then I was like wild cannon. I was free to do whatever, come home, whatever time, parents aren't. So and I always saw Sikhi, like the whole religion, the ideology, because I didn't know anything about it. I saw it as oppressive. I saw it as patriarchal because I didn't know anything about it, right? And I just, because of my interaction with in my sort of Gatka time.
Yeah.
So then I moved back home, and during the same time my brother was going through a massive Jagrata. He had started researching what happened in the 84. He had started researching Guru's teachings, and I will never stop talking about it, like the hard time, and I'll own up to it, the hard time my family, including me, gave him. And he stood alone. He fought every day. And my parents, my mother, especially my dad, and me every now and then, we're like, so what are you going to do? Like, first of all, I didn't know anything about Sant Pindramalaji, so I never spoke against him because I didn't know. But because my father was in army, he spoke against him because that's what he was taught.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just like, but for me, it was like, okay, I didn't understand why he has this love all of a sudden. Like, to me, it didn't make sense. And I was just like, what are you going to do? Like, okay, great, you have it, but why are you fighting with us? Why are you trying to now think about, why are you looking into these movements that are so dangerous? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I fought with him, and he would, the fights that would happen, and I just couldn't figure out why he's sticking up for something that's bigger than him, that doesn't concern us physically.
Right. He has no actual connection to it. But he's finding a connection.
Yeah, but it's like, why are you pulling yourself in something so dangerous? Why are you taking yourself there? We're safe. We're living in our world, in our bubble. Like, I didn't realize at the time it was a bubble, but we're safe. We're having a pleasant life. Why?
Yeah.
And then in the end, towards the end, he's like, just listen to what I have to say. And then when he started telling me these things, even though because I was still unawakened, my logical mind was rejecting it, but it was touching my soul. My soul was, it was every word, every atrocious thing that's happened, the genocides, the tortures, it was resonating with my soul. And I wouldn't show it to him, but then I would go away and I would think about it a lot. And it would not leave my brain.
The seeds were planted.
The seeds were planted, and it's like, for a long time I kept putting it under the rug, but it was like, it had to be purged. So then I started I did my own research. I started, then looking at people that are currently active, that are, speaking up about the real issues, regardless of how dangerous it is. And it was just so inspiring. And at that time, I was also starting to go through some spiritual, things. Like, I just felt like Maharaj's presence around me. And I had never even prayed to him. I had never even tried to connect with him. I'm feeling his presence. I'm researching the Nihungs.
Yeah.
That struck a chord. The power, the power, the ruthlessness, the saint quality, the soldier quality, the Tamkar fight.
Yeah.
48.
I mean, especially with Nihung's things in general, that rugged independence.
Yeah,
that spirit.
Yeah, it was. So I was blown away. So I then became obsessed. So what happened? So this is what triggered it. It was already in my mind, but I would never speak up against it because I had a lot of Bollywood friends on my Facebook and a lot of friends. But in that time, I still didn't know how Indians that are still very conditioned, how opposed they were to Sikh rights. I didn't know that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't speak about it. It's like I'm still learning it myself. So then in 2019, an incident happened. that you may know, in Delhi, a father, tempo driver, and the son were beaten by the police officers, and they were dragged. And it was like 1984 scenes. And then I'm reading the comments. People are like, Sardar ko 84 scene, 84 yaad dilana padega Sardaro ko. And what triggered me the most was, well, everything about it. The way he fought. Kalla Singh against, in that time, it's like really, he's fighting the institution alone. His son, 15-year-old, has nothing to do with it. Why is he beaten up? Why is he dragged? That, like, because I have like a really soft spot for our girls and boys, but especially for our boys. You know, they were hunted. So for me, that triggered me to a level that I had never been triggered before. I started speaking about it on social media. I didn't care who's reading it. I was abusing the government. I was taunting. I was just like, you know, I started that was like a fire. Floodgates were opened, and there was no stopping it after that. That triggered me. And then I saw the reaction from my friends,
quote unquote
Mumbai.
Friends.
Yeah, but these are like actresses, big video, you know, directors. I saw the reaction, and I'm like thinking, I've known you my whole life.
Yeah.
And you're publicly saying to me, first of all, kirpan should be banned. Why kirpan kyun uthani? Kyun ye fad hai? Style hai. These are the things they're saying, and it's triggering me more and more. And, you know, the amount of people that unfriended me, you know, which is fine, because, you know, when you step into your true self, you attract the true tribe. That happened, and I just never stopped after that. I became relentless. I was so angry. And then all this other anger came about 84, about 47, about the Sikh Empire. And I really relate myself to Sikh Empire. I feel a strong connection there. So I just went relentless for months. I would just keep going, and I wouldn't stop. Any chance I would get, I would go into Ravi Singh's comments, and I would fight all the IT cells. I would be for hours like fighting them. You know, I was so angry. And my brother went through the same phase. And I realized there's a whole stages. When you awaken, the first thing you do is you're angry. So you want to fight the world, and you're fighting it. And after that, a few months later, you're like, okay, Sara jado gussa aa gaya, and it's very exhausting energetically. In the time, you have adrenaline, so you don't feel it. But after a few months, you're like, okay, I've done it all. What now? My story was different because I managed to piss off a guy who was really politically connected in India, and then, you know, I made a post on Nehru.
Oh,
it was on Nehru's birthday. Everyone's celebrating him. We're like, why are we celebrating him? He's a lineage of genocides. You know, they have never done anything. So anyway, they got really pissed off because Congress sees Nehru as like God, you know, as a father of the nation. So I'm like, man, father. Okay, maybe cut this now.
I don't think I'm cutting any of this. This is what we're all about.
This is what we're all about. And the thing is, I still, but I still, I don't do it as much because now my way of channeling that energy is actually doing something.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing too. Like, we got to stop and think, I understand the anger. I understand the passion. But you're not going to change minds with that. And right. So in order to change minds, in order to bring people along to how we're thinking, it's got to be strategic. It's got to be, you know, there's got to be a plan. And, you know, some of the things like Ravi Singh, Khalsa Aid, you know, he's universally seen as somebody who does a lot of work. Now, I know with some pro-India, because he speaks so openly against Indian government, that you have that clash. But around the world, people see him and they support him because they see what he's doing. Yeah. So similarly, I think the more we start doing and the more we grow into our Sikhi, you know, that's the whole thing. Like my history is very different than what you kind of went through, but in many ways, there's some similarities. We were not into Sikhi at all as a family. We were all cut hair. We were completely Americanized. And you can probably tell that a little bit about me from the way I talk and my personality, that very Americanized. But then 84 happened. And that kind of, we were paying attention now. Wait, what's happening? What happened there? Then we're listening to the news. Then we're listening to Sant Jarnail Singh Bhadnawale's speeches. We're starting to follow a little bit. And then we ran into some Gursikh people, and we learned Path and Kirtan. Then eventually we ended up keeping our hair. We eventually ended up taking Amrit and learning the history, learning everything that's going on. But it was 84 directly. 84 happened, and it woke us up sitting in the middle of nowhere in America. What was happening in Punjab? We saw the 60 Minutes interview Sant Jarnail Singh Bhadnawale did with 60 Minutes, and that was so inspiring. Just to hear him talk like that and to see the impact he was having even on an American audience viewing it. So, but again, it was that this fire comes up at first, and then you find this identity and you attach yourself to it. But I think ultimately we have to realize that it's a natural process, that you have to let it grow naturally. It has to be Gurmat oriented. You have to know what the Guru is saying without interpretations from other people. So you have to learn, you have to start to figure out yourself, what is the Guru saying and what does that mean to me? How does it resonate to me? And then things will start to blossom from the inside out.
Yeah, you really have to, you're absolutely right. You have to go inwards, because initially I started talking about these, I'm posting two types of topics all the time, political, and the other one is my love for Sikhi. And then I've got people that are confused. They're like, well, how you, like from Punjab, in Punjabi, well, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ, ਗੁਰੂਆਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ, ਆਪ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਾਲ ਕੱਟੇ ਨੇ, ਆਪ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਾਸਟ ਰੱਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ. But these, and then for myself, it's like, well, but I'm not ready yet, and then out of the blue, I felt like I got the hukam on Baisakhi to drop my last name, and adopt God. And Jesus Christ, there was an energetic shift when I took the power that came with it. People treated me differently. Yeah. Like all of a sudden, and I don't want to say it in that way because I'm the most humble person as well, but it was almost like I had been put on a pedestal. Like there was this respect that came with the last name. Like coming from a Jat family, you want to keep that last name. That's what you're taught.
Right.
That's right. You have no accomplishments. It's fine because you still have the Jat last name. Don't worry about the accomplishments. Yeah. Who cares about that? You're Jat. Yeah.
Right. But that's the whole thing, right? That's the cultural thing. Guru Sahib is telling us, Hamari Jat Paat Gur Sat Gur. Hum vecheo sir gur ke. That's what Guru Sahib is saying to us. But we go, hey, I'm a Jat, I'm this, look at how cool I am, look at how I dress or how I act. But Guru Sahib gave us a different way to dress and act.
Exactly. So so that happened, and I have to say Ravi Singh was my greatest real-time inspirations. The way I saw him do what he's doing, he's made he's in Syria border. Who's there? Yeah, the amount of impact he's helping women, the most, like the impact he's made, it drove me to be like, I can also do this and use my skill set, but at the same time, he still maintains his integrity to speak the truth. Yeah. And, he's inspired not only me, so many Sikhs. Oh, yeah, all of us, everywhere. And you know what? Actually, shout out to Ravi Singh. I'm sure you heard he's sick with COVID. Yeah, I've been doing part, literally dedicated. These are things you don't say out, but dedicated for his family. I've been doing Ardas and part because I'm I think all of us are... Yeah, all of us are thinking about him, doing Ardas for him. Hope he gets well. We need people like him. It shouldn't be that we depend on him for this work. But we do. But we draw inspiration. We should. That's what we should. We should all be getting involved somehow and drawing that inspiration from him. But look, even his wife is incredible. Well, he can't do what he does without an incredible wife behind him, right? Balke Sandhu, she is a powerful woman. I have her on Facebook and I see her posts as well. She doesn't beat around the bush. She's direct. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, it's a power couple. It's a power couple that, we should, like, it's a powerful Sikh couple. And it's just amazing. It's like couple goals all the way. Well, look, we've done over an hour here. You covered a lot of stuff.
I mean, it was really awesome. It was great talking to you, actually. And I'll invite you back on some other time. We could talk about other things. I wish you continued success with this project, teaching Bitcoin in Punjabi. And then, I just hope that people realize that this kind of information is being put out there. Let's go take advantage of it. I mean, even me, I'm watching your video, learning about Bitcoin, and even just today, I learned a lot. I think I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. This is the first time I've actually thought I'll do it. I've always just kind of heard it and whatever, but
Sure.
Hearing how you talked about it and thinking about it in the perspective that you did, I like thinking about that Guru Sahib's concept of keeping it for the people, independent of governments and oppressors that can manipulate it and affect your life.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. Yeah.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity, the platform to be able to talk about it. I've become so used to speaking Punjabi. It's like, English? What's English?
No, that's great. That is actually really
experience.
Yeah, no, but that's really great. I do appreciate that you're doing that. A lot of us I have a lot of American audience, and including Gore Sikhs that maybe don't understand any Punjabi. And my Punjabi is very weak. It's something that I kind of regret that I never really took the time. I only spoke Punjabi until about 5 years old. My mom says as soon as I went to school, it was like a switch turned off,
Well, maybe I can invite you on my platform and we can test your Punjabi.
I don't know that I want to do that, but we do make efforts. My wife and I, we make efforts to make sure our kids are learning that I already feel like they're doing better than we are, so that's important too. But I do appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much for coming on, stepping into the Nihung's arena. Hopefully we talk again soon.
Absolutely, that would be amazing. Thank you so much, Mandheer ji.
Okay. Waheguru ji ka khalsa.
Waheguru ji ki fateh.